So, founder or product manager? It's a huge question, one that a lot of us end up staring at some point in our careers. One path is all about building your own thing from the ground up, and the other feels like you're guiding a product that's already out there. But here's the thing. Are they really that different? Let's get into it and figure out what these roles are truly about, and maybe find the one skill that ties them both together.
It often starts with something just like this. A messy, handwritten note trying to figure out a massive life decision. Own company on one side, find another job on the other. And you can see what's driving it all, wanting more control, and this really powerful desire to bring a community closer. I mean, you can just feel the tension in that handwriting, can't you? This is way more than just a career choice. It's about figuring out the kind of impact you really truly want to make.
Okay, so you're standing at this fork in the road. You're looking down two paths, and they seem like they lead to completely different universes. So where do you even start to think about this? Well, let's really break it down. We're going to explore each path, starting with the one that gets all the attention, the founder.
All right, path number one, the founder. This is the person who looks around, sees something missing in the world, and just decides, I'm going to build that. They're the architect of everything, the product, the company, the whole vision. But what's the most important tool they have to get it all done? It's probably not what you're thinking.
And this quote just nails it. It's all about the story. For a founder, long before there's a real product or any revenue coming in, the story is basically their currency. They have to sell a vision of the future so well that investors, their first employees, and their first customers all start to believe in it too. And look, this isn't just some vague, fluffy idea. Founders build this narrative in a really structured way. It all kicks off with understanding exactly who they're building for. That's the customer persona. From there, they map out the big picture goals, the main chapters of their journey. And only then do they break it all down into the nitty-gritty details the team can actually go and build. It's a storytelling process from top to bottom.
And this right here is the founder's ultimate superpower, straight-up authority. In a startup, if a founder has a sudden realization, they can literally walk into a room, say, stop everything, and pivot the entire company on a dime. They have the final say. That kind of speed backed by their authority is a huge, huge advantage. But what about the other path?
Okay, so that's the founder. Now let's switch gears and look at path number two, the product manager. Think of a PM less as the architect and more as the shepherd of a vision. They're working inside a company that already exists, guiding a product to success. And because of that, their world and the tools they use are fundamentally different.
Just think about Amazon's legendary writing culture for a second. This is the kind of world a PM often lives in. You can forget about flashy PowerPoint slides. At Amazon, your idea has to be laid out in a super detailed 6-page document. It forces you to think incredibly deeply because your idea has to survive a trial by fire based purely on its own merits, not on how charming you are.
And you can see this difference so clearly in the kinds of documents they create. The founder's main tool is the pitch deck. Its whole purpose is to create desire, to sell a dream. The product manager, their Bible is the PRD, the product requirement document. And its job is to provide absolute clarity, to get huge teams all on the same page so they can actually build the thing. One is all about selling the why, the other is about detailing the what.
So it really boils down to this. A founder has authority. They can just tell the team what to build. A PM, on the other hand, operates on influence. They have to convince everybody. They don't have anyone reporting to them. They have to build consensus, juggle relationships, and even work with people who might have totally different goals. It's a totally different ballgame. It's persuasion, not power. All right, so on one hand, you've got this visionary architect with all the power. And on the other, the master influencer who has to navigate a giant organization. I mean, they seem like they're from completely different planets, don't they? But, and this is the big but, what if I told you that despite all those differences in power and process, both of these incredibly tough jobs are built on the exact same non-negotiable foundation? And that foundation, that one non-negotiable skill, it's writing. It's the ability to think through a problem and communicate your ideas with absolute clarity and precision. It doesn't matter if you're writing a pitch deck to raise millions or a PRD to get hundreds of engineers aligned. Your success in either role comes down to how well you can put your thoughts into words. And look, we're not just talking about good grammar here. We're talking about the clarity to make something complex feel simple. We're talking about the storytelling that makes people actually feel something and care about the problem. It's the precision to use data to build a case that's impossible to argue with. And at the end of the day, it's about using words to build connections. Both founders and PMs absolutely live or die by this skill set. And all of this leads to a pretty powerful idea, a totally new way to look at this whole debate. It's a shift away from thinking about your job title and toward thinking about a specific mindset.
You've probably heard that old saying, right? The PM is the CEO of the product. Well, forget it. As this quote points out, it's just not true. A PM doesn't have a CEO's authority. A much better way to think about it is as a co-founder. You're not the top boss, but you act with that same intense level of ownership and commitment.
So what does that actually look like day to day? It means you do whatever it takes. You're in the trenches. You're answering support tickets, you're writing API documentation, you're doing the quality testing yourself. It's about taking 100% responsibility for the outcome. No excuses. And it's about constantly zooming in on the tiniest details, then zooming way back out to the big picture, over and over again.
So, all of this brings us full circle. We've seen that these two paths look different on the outside, but they demand the same core skills and can be powered by the very same mindset. Which makes you think, maybe we've been asking the wrong question this whole time.
See, the real question isn't founder or PM. It's not about the title on your LinkedIn profile. The real question is, where can you, with that deep sense of ownership, that co-founder's mindset, make the biggest impact? Where can you build something that really matters? Something that, like that note said right at the start, brings a community closer. Whether you do that by starting your own thing or by leading a product inside a larger company, well, that's the path you get to choose.